to our runway series. Another skill you should know is walking to the end of the runway with no pit pose. Typically, you are walking down the middle of the runway, and before you get to the end, remember, the end of the runway is not the actual end of the runway, because if we go up to the end, we might fall off, lose light, or step out of frame. So at the end of the runway is a few steps before the physical end. As you feel you are approaching the end of your runway, you are going to stop walking in the middle of the runway and start to curve out a little. Whether you are crossed over at that time or stepping out with your feet like this, doesn't really matter, but you are going to curve around while continuing to keep eye contact with your pit photographers for as long as possible, continuing to curve, and then ending up hugging the right side of the runway so that you are out of the way for the next model coming down the runway. Unless you are closing the show or the segment, then you would step out, create your curve, continue to keep eye contact. As you end up on the right side of the runway, you are going to curve yourself back to the middle of the runway because you get to take up the whole runway when you are closing a segment or a show by walking back in the middle. May or may not have more poses as you walk back on the runway, a half back or a closing pose, and we will talk about that in another video.